EPSI, the first public sector blockchain in Europe, helps citizens study, work, and grow across the EU borders with verifiable credentials and digital wallets. With EPSI, we make documents impossible to fake and easy to verify anywhere at any time. Together, we reimagine mobility in Europe. This story illustrates a student getting a master diploma after receiving a transcript of records validated by Erasmus. The credentials that are exchanged in scope of this scenario are European Student Identifier, Bachelor's Diploma, Transcript of Records, and Master's Diploma between the Royal Spanish Mint, Fábrica Nacional de Moneda y Timbre, the University of Rovira y Virgili, KU Leuven, and the University of Bologna in cross-border settings in Spain, Belgium, and Italy. Let's see the story that these actors have built together through the eyes of Eva.
For the first step of this journey, Eva performs authentication and requests the issuance of a verifiable ID. This service allows Eva to request and receive her academic ID, which will give her access to the virtual campus of Rovira and Virgili University, where, through her verifiable ID, she can request and receive her verifiable diploma. With the verifiable diploma, Eva can now apply for a master's degree at KU Leuven. This entity issues Eva a verifiable student ID that she uses to enter a KU Leuven program, where she goes on Erasmus for a period of 6 months at the University of Bologna. After this period, the university issued Eva a verifiable transcript of records for her credits that she shares with KU Leuven to get her diploma master's degree. Una Europa is an alliance of 11 universities across 11 European countries. Partner universities host over 600,000 active students each year. Every year, the number of students moving increases. To facilitate and promote this mobility, the Alliance's ambition is to create an ecosystem in which all students move seamlessly.
With EPSI, students get full control of their education. With EPSI, we make documents impossible to fake and easy to verify, anywhere, at any time.
Welcome to the Una Europa Talk on blockchain technology. We started with this video to give you an example of how blockchain technology could help Una Europa, since Una Europa wants to have this truly European inter-university environment, and maybe blockchain could help in automatic recognition of educational credentials and the exchange of these credentials. And you've heard the word verifiable a lot, so how can we use that within Una Europa? I have a wonderful panel, and they can answer all of my questions on blockchain technology and the university of the future, and also your questions. So feel free to ask a question. You won't need blockchain technology to ask it. You can just scan the QR code and ask your question, or later on we will walk through the audience with a microphone. So feel free to ask questions. My panel, on the left, Jan Ducaillu, a technical expert KU Leuven at the Central Computer Department and member of the Una Europa Blockchain Working Group. Welcome, Jan. Give him a warm hand. Maxine Lem, who led the early adopters program, should I say, of EPSI. You saw the video at the European Commission, and she works at the Directorate General for Informatics of the European Commission, and it's called DG Digit. It's a really sexy name. So they are responsible for EPSI, for the European blockchain services. You need acronyms, right? Yeah. Give them a warm hand. You love acronyms, yeah. Next to you, from Bologna. You should all visit Bologna, of course. Anyone else from Bologna? I mean, I forget Helsinki all the time, but Bologna is great. Rebecca Montanari, Vice Rector for Digital Transformation at the University of Bologna, and a blockchain expert. Give her a warm hand. Or cheering is also allowed. Next to me, I think you already saw him at the student board handover. I said hangover earlier, but it was the handover. Dominique Abbas, he was the chair of the student board, and he is also recently been appointed public policy advisor at the Paris Blockchain Society, so he also knows a lot about blockchain besides being a student. Give him a warm hand. Let me start with you, since you're the student here, right? I mean, how can students benefit from such a thing as blockchain technology?
Well, I think we just saw a great example in the video that we just saw. I think we have to project ourselves a few years in the future and imagine how it could look concretely. It could mean arriving at the university and identifying you using your phone at the entrance of the university and authenticating your identity using blockchain. It could mean going to the university library, which would be a library which could use blockchain to manage the way that books are circulating in the library. And then you could go to mobility in another university, and you could use blockchain to easily register in another university, authenticate who you are and your files, and have, make this complex process way easier. And then you get your diploma, you look for a job, and you have this amazing European Bachelor of European Studies, for instance, or any other joint bachelor, and you have to authenticate it, and you send it to your employer or your future employer, and he can check the authenticity of your diploma using blockchain. So these are all the scenarios that we can look forward, I think.
Yeah. Before you could maybe fake your diploma, but I guess it's no longer possible as a student anymore.
I've always been faking mine.
Too bad. Yeah, we're losing it. Maybe first, Maxime, could you explain briefly what is blockchain technology?
Okay, this is on. Okay,
yeah.
Great. Hi, everyone. So before I start, I just wanted to say I work for the technology arm of the Commission, so DG Digit. I don't work in policy, so my job is really trying to implement the technological portion of initiatives that are more policy related. So the European Blockchain Services Infrastructure is primarily an innovation project, and my role is to try and make the technology work and work with people like you to define how it can actually help. So I want to jump off of what you just said because blockchain, how familiar are all of you with blockchain as a technology, like how it works? I want to just a show of hands.
And you could, if
okay,
you
I'm
could
gonna
explain
go.
it, if you can explain it, you can do this.
If you could explain it to your mom. Yeah. Okay, but then I will go with something very simple without wanting to patronize. So a blockchain is actually simply a distributed database. It's a ledger. Ledgers are not particularly complicated concepts, right? It's a list of things that are ordered in a chronological fashion. What is different about blockchain as a ledger is that it's distributed, so there isn't a single point where the data is saved, which means that in theory, if you have a lot of synchronized copies of the same database, it is harder to tamper with it. So that's the first property of blockchain. It is tamper evident. I don't know if we're allowed to swear. So it can't be fucked with. Then the second important property of blockchain is immutability, and that is linked to the inherent way in which the technology works. When you add data to a blockchain, in essence what happens is that all of the entities that synchronize their copies of the database will enter into some kind of voting or consensus building round in some types of blockchains, not EBSI, it's mining, which you're familiar with from the crypto world probably. In others like EBSI, it's something called proof of authority, where it's a much less computationally heavy operation. But adding data to the blockchain involves a consensus building, and once the data is added to a block, first half, the block itself receives, let's say, a sort of unique code, a hash, and the content of all of that previous block will be hashed cryptographically, so that's what makes it hard to tamper with, and added at the start of the next block on the chain, forming a chain. So two things that are important to remember here. The data cannot be changed, it is decentralized, and it is hard to tamper with, almost impossible unless you have quantum computing.
So
that also means...
So it cannot be changed?
It's immutable, it is tamper evident, it is distributed.
It's distributed.
So it means no single point of failure. Let's
Yeah.
say that there's a power outage somewhere. It won't affect the availability of the data in general because
Yeah.
there are many copies of the same information available at any one time.
Yeah. So it's a really cool diploma then, right? It's
Super cool,
cooler
but,
than on paper.
That's very important also, is that blockchain should not be used as a record of personal data because that would be a violation of privacy. So what you need to think about for blockchain is, it's always a hammer looking for a nail. It's a solution that's looking for its problem. And what we, on the Commission side, see as the potential for it is verification. So making registries with information that we know needs to stay for a long time. You need to think about how long you want your information to be available. That can be made, let's say, publicly available, that don't need to be erased, because otherwise you're violating privacy.
Okay, yeah. Rebecca Montanari, from a university perspective, what are the key advantages, would you say, of blockchain technology within a student and university environment?
Okay, first of all, he has not come to Bologna. He has moved around many universities, but he has not come to Bologna, and he has promised to come and to try our system, first of all. Now, from the perspective of my institutional role, I've been very interested in analyzing this project because the blockchain is a very difficult and complex technology that has a great potential of innovation, but has a very difficult level of knowledge. So for an institution that has to handle complex processes, blockchain can be a solution, but we wanted really to experiment and to pilot a use case. Because if you experiment since the beginning and you are in the loop since the beginning, you can really understand the trade-off between the advantages and the costs, not only technological costs, but cultural and organizational. Yes. The organizational part is the most tough part.
Yeah, so for instance, the example we got from the video, if it costs more than the advantages are...
No, they are not covered the whole picture. In Italy, there are two pieces that has not been solved to do the whole cycle. So the organizational difficulty in Italy is because we, as university, has not been entitled to issue verifiable credential. So up to now, each country has a different organization and rules, and this can hamper the adoption of blockchain. Yeah. But of course, the potential advantages we have experimenting, of course, simplifying the administrative staff, and with Leuven we have experimenting for international mobility for students, because the most effort and overhead was handling all the paper documents, that of course produces delays, increases the data entry effort, and may result in fake documents. So simplification is a goal that we, I think, obtained in the demo.
That's the greatest advantage of
exactly.
using this.
But we have not built the whole circle.
Yeah. What's still missing?
The first two parts.
The first two parts. So the start is the hardest part, yeah.
We can verify the transcript of records,
yeah.
But it is not possible to have an entity that issue the credential of being a European student, and we are not accredited and entitled to issue verifiable credentials. So it is the organizational level problem.
Jan, what would you say are the advantages and maybe also misconceptions on blockchain technology in the university environment?
Misconception, there is a lot of talk and resistance about using blockchain as a technology.
A little bit closer?
Using blockchain as a technology, because most of the people, when they talk about blockchain, they think it's very energy consuming. Like Maxim has explained, blockchain is a chain of blocks cryptographically coupled together. And before data can be added to the network, the participating nodes in the blockchain network must give their consent. And when people think about blockchain, they mostly refer to networks like Bitcoin and Ethereum. And these are known to be very using a lot of energy. And this is because they are open blockchain networks, which means that anyone can participate and become a blockchain node, and so also write on the blockchain. And we as a university, we care about the environment. So in the blockchain working group, we were looking for alternatives, and like EPSI. And how does EPSI tackle this challenge? EPSI is a permissioned blockchain network. And a permissioned blockchain network means that not everybody can become a node. And also, like Maxime has explained, a lot of authorities, at the moment there are 37 nodes, I think.
Participating in a pre-production phase, yes.
Yes.
So that, because now it gets difficult, right? Everyone's like, what's with the nodes and everything? Yeah?
A node just has a copy of the decentralized database.
Yeah.
Okay.
If that helps.
If that helps.
Making eye contact.
But
it's part
maybe,
of how the information is stored. So a node is just essentially an organization that has some servers and makes some, bandwidth available in order to perform these calculations to contribute to consensus and host, continuously update the copy of the database that they have.
And why does Bitcoin and Ethereum cost much more energy than this system?
Firstly, because it's an open network, so anyone can become a node and write on the blockchain. So this means you have a problem of majority when data is added to the blockchain. You have to have a consensus, and that is typically done via a mining process. And EPSI does not work with a mining process, but
the mining is so energy consuming.
Yes,
yeah.
because you have to have a majority, and because on the one hand, EPSI is a permission blockchain network, and on the other hand, writing on the data on the blockchain network is done via an authorization model, a proof of authority. And on the other hand, lastly, is that on the blockchain of EPSI, there is almost no data. It's only the identifiers and the public keys of the trusted issuers. For example, universities that are accredited to issue certain diplomas, not all kind of diplomas, certain diplomas.
So let's make it concrete with Dominique. Dominique has a student card, he has a diploma. You have, right? You have a diploma?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, I have one.
Yeah.
I didn't fake it.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, yeah. How could this work with EPSI? Could you maybe, Maxine?
Yes, I'll introduce a few concepts because it helps. So Dominic, let's assume that you're, with your very real diploma, are applying to study abroad.
Bologna.
Right? Let's say you currently study in France, you want to pursue a master's degree or a PhD or whatever it is in Bologna. So the University of Bologna will likely ask you for a copy of your current educational credential, whatever it might be. So here you have three roles. Dominic here is the holder of the credential. The credential is about him, the credential is his diploma, and he's the holder. And he's the one in charge of the transaction. You have two more roles. You have the role of verifier, the University of Bologna, checking if he didn't fake his diploma. And you have the role of issuer, I'm assuming a Paris university. Just gonna assume. So, and the issuer is the one that produces the credential and gives it to Dominic. So all of this is the pattern. Now what's different about this pattern is that when the University of Bologna will be checking the authenticity of the diploma, the digital version of the diploma that they're presented with, which is going to be a verifiable credential. This is a word that you'll hear again and again, so I will say it out loud. It's a format for data. Nothing more, nothing less, like an envelope. So it's a verifiable credential that includes a reference to Dominic being the holder, what degree he studied, what grade he got, whatever information is relevant. They will look and they will also see that this was issued by a Parisian university. Instead of contacting the Parisian university, they will make a verification on the blockchain. So what Jan was saying is true. EBSI, for the verifiable credentials type uses that we're describing here, stores very, very little data. It stores a record of every single university that has been accredited and what kind of credentials that university can be trusted to present. So in this case, the university, they'll check, they'll receive this credential, they'll see a reference to a line on the ledger, which is basically a DID, a decentralized identifier. Don't worry about the language, it's just a string of numbers. And they will see it appear or not appear on the EBSI ledger, and that will allow them to see whether or not this university is credible. So that's it.
Yeah, so it won't say, oh, Dominic was a lovely student. He did great. He wrote a beautiful paper on political philosophy. It just says he did graduate.
Actually, I did. But no, I'm really bad at political philosophy.
Actually, on Ledger, it says nothing about Dominic.
No, it just says you're asking for a diploma and he has it.
It's nothing about that either. Dominic has the diploma because he's shown it. But do we trust this diploma, yes or no? Yes, because the university that gave Dominic this diploma is registered.
It only says that what I showed is true. That's the only thing that it says. But if I might highlight a few challenges here, because that's the dream scenario, of course, and that's what we should be looking for. First, I have to understand what blockchain is. I have to understand the tool that I'm using.
An app. A mobile app.
I know, but I believe that if we want people to adopt on large scales new tools, they have to understand the tools. And if the idea behind blockchain is making web or making technology as a tool of citizenship and giving web back to the people, because that's also what it is about decentralized web. People have to understand the tool. If I don't understand what blockchain is, if it is just one more mobile app that I have to use with all the others, if my administration, because we have people in administrations in our universities who don't know what blockchain is, and I can't ask them to know what it is, and they already have so much work to do, so they also have to learn about it, to use this new tool, to learn how to use it. And once they've done that, the other part, so the University of Bologna also has to get people at the administration who understand the system, who know how to use it, and it can't be just another system with all the other systems. And that's one of the things.
So would your dream be that it should replace all the systems in European universities? So everyone just knows, aha, this is the system. Everyone works with it in Europe.
Well, that's not up to me to say, but I only say that if we go towards the blockchain dream, which has advantages and great advantages, we can't complexify. So we have this complex. I love complexity. We have this complex thing, and we can use it to do great things. But we can only use complexify to simplify at the end. So if for the students and the administration who are already overloaded with administration, with tasks, it's only one more task. We are missing something, and that's what we should be working on also.
Yeah, Jan?
Yes, but I don't completely agree with you, because, for example, now universities do not explain the student information system or what's behind, if it's a database or whatever. So the things about that the student has to know it's blockchain based, it does not matter.
Works.
It's not important, and even the blockchain is only part of the whole system. You have the user wallet, which is the most important part, where all the data, the user is in control of all the data. He can decide which claims can be shared with whom. So that's an important part. Then also the way of exchanging the verifiable credentials, how they are built up, and so on. And the blockchain is just the ledger, the distributed replicated database. So I think it's not important.
Let's
I
ask
can
my
say-
audience, and then I'll ask you. Who wants to know how it works? Or no, let's ask that first. If you are in a system or in an administration, and they'll write down your numbers or your diplomas and so on. Who wants to know how that works? 2 people. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. If I can maybe just use a short example.
No, first
Oh,
Rebecca.
sorry.
Yeah.
Now, I can say from the perspective of the organization.
Yes.
What he said is an issue in any case, because when you're adopting technology, I think that a European principle that is driving now our life is to be aware of what you are doing in order to be active citizen. Otherwise, you are passive citizen, you just use the technology without knowing anything. Of course, usability has to be leveraged, but if you know something about the technology, you get more familiar and you are more willing to adopt it. From the organization point of view, this knowledge divide is very, very important because it is a big issue with blockchain. Because if you observe the evolution of the technology and the level of maturity, we can witness 3 waves. The first one was awareness that lasted for 4 years or 5 years.
When did we
because
start?
organization did not know what blockchain was.
Yeah.
And so the starting point was to know what blockchain is and why are you adopting that technology. Then moved the blockchain into a sort of experimenting phase. And now we are in a transformation phase that will last for the next years, where finally the knowledge has been a little bit filled, the gap is a little bit filled in. And from the organizational point of view, if I want to rely on the blockchain for this process, I want to know that blockchain in general, what is the potential, or also for other processes. So the knowledge and the competence, the expertise need to be built within the organization. Otherwise, you just use a piece of technologies just for one process and you do not have the whole vision of.
Can I maybe jump in, because I think we're touching upon something very important here. I think today, when we interact with technology, we know frightfully little about what we're actually trading for the service. There are very large platforms that allow us to have a lot of convenience in how we use digital services in exchange for a large amount of data that we're not even aware most of the time that we're exchanging. So
If it's free,
it's free, you're
Yeah.
the product. No free lunch. So if we take a second to zoom out, blockchain, like you say, has been through many phases. It's gone through its hype phase. I feel like the hype phase exploded this weekend for those of you who've read the financial news. And I think it's finally in a place where people who are active in this space understand what it can and cannot be used for. And when we're thinking about the role, again, I represent here the European Commission, so I have to talk about this, the role of the public sector when it comes to the data economy. I think we're here in a moment of paradigm shift. So Web 2, the social web, the web where you generate content, is the web of today. And that web needs to be regulated for ill or for better. The regulation attempts are in the process. You have GDPR, you have the Digital Services Act, the Digital Markets Act. Whatever we think about those initiatives, it is a role of the public sector to step in. But we need to think about the future as well. And blockchain is a technology that can help us do that. Web3, hype term, but there is something to it, is about decentralization. It's about data ownership. Fundamentally, blockchain originally was a crypto dream. It was a cyberpunk dream about radical data ownership and privacy. And we'll not be able to accomplish that specific dream. But what I think we can do is create infrastructures of verification where as little as possible is revealed about the person that is trying to prove something about themselves.
Yeah, you can yourself say, okay, I want to share this information with that partner. And so
Selective disclosure.
yeah.
There are other things like zero knowledge proofs that you can use.
Yeah.
But yes.
And for everyone in the room
For public
thinking, okay,
administration.
what did we achieve so far? What is possible right now, maybe also within the EPSI? What can we really do now, today, with blockchain technology?
Like the demo explained, we together with Unibo, KU Leuven, and together with EPSI, we set up of a proof of concept where in an exchange program, the student can go to another university, on board there on an easy, secure, and fast way. It's not only easy for the students, but it's also easy for the administrations, because the user has his information and just presents it by scanning a QR code. So, and also when coming back to the home university, to recognize the obtained credits at the other university can be easily and fast. So it's happy students and happy administrations.
Yeah, and this, can we roll out this for all universities of Una Europa and further and
No.
so on?
No,
No.
I think that the
That's-
demo has been very important to outline also the costs I was saying before, and the problems. One of the main problems is now to transform the POC into the uptake of this project within
The next phase.
the alliance. There is one problem, again, knowledge, because not all universities that have been in the loop since the beginning have the knowledge to adopt that technology and possibly integrate within their systems. So in a recent meeting, we offered our help as early adopter to help other university to get into the project. And the second problem is sustainability. But again, if you know the technology, you know the governance model. The governance, which means permissionless, permissioned, that can help you understand what kind of energy consumption problems you may have, because it is completely different. Yeah. So knowledge, again,
So
is
you
very
do
important.
see enthusiasm, but now... Okay.
Well, maybe here is also something that is important to say is that initiatives like EPSI rely on participation from the sectors or domains, education sector here in this case, in order to take off. We developed these demonstrations that you see here after almost a year of close collaboration with at least 15 countries and more than 20 universities. And these demonstrations, 11 universities, 12 countries, always get them mixed up. But so these demonstrations were the outcome of a user testing process, if you like, participative design process with the education sector in order for us to come up with a framework, right, a data exchange framework that makes sense and that is actually has the potential of being used. So now we feel pretty confident about the concept, but between concept and adoption, there's a vast, vast ocean. So what we are doing on our side is we're launching a third wave of what we call the early adopter program. Clues in the name, adopt early. And that will involve recruiting universities, institutions, as yourselves, ultimately students.
They're here.
To participate, exactly. So my important plug for the night. They will involve the participation of universities specifically and alliances, because the issuers of credentials are at the heart of this working or not working. And alliances are in this unique position of being in contact with students, in being in contact with employers, being in contact with each other. So there is that cross-border dimension. It is a priority of the Commission. It's the skills agenda. It's the mobility agenda. We've been working a lot internally with DG EAC, DG Emploi, but we also need to work with the world. So there, go to epsi.eu.
Dominic first, yeah.
Yes. I think there is definitely enthusiasm for the technology because it's new, because it's upcoming, and among students, for instance, of course, we are looking forward what we will use blockchain for and how we can use it. There is way less enthusiasm for the tool right now because we don't know about it and we don't know how we will use it. Well, I think we have to think of it in a comprehensive way. at the society scale, the European society scale. I come from a social science university, which means that we are really bad at science. Well, we have some informatics, we have some mathematics at the university, but still we are mainly a social science university. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't work on blockchain. That means that we should work 2 times more on blockchain or on these new upcoming technologies, because we will need people with knowledge of sociology, of philosophy, of political science, of history, of geography to work and to address these many challenges. It's always if we want to embark hundreds of thousands and millions of people and hundreds of millions, if we're talking at European scale, on this new thing, we have to explain them why. We can use the metaphor of a car. You don't have to understand how your car works to drive it. But if you want people to get an electric car instead of a diesel one, you better have them understand why the electric car is better for the environment, for instance, but at the same time, maybe it will cost more, or maybe we'll have these disadvantages. So that's what we should work on in the society scale.
Promote the advantages,
promote
or
it
explain.
If we want to succeed at the implementation of blockchain tomorrow.
Yeah, Jan?
Yes, I want to comment on that. From a technical perspective, I'm a technical person, it is not that difficult to implement it. We were, like Maxime formulated, we were early adopters, so it was the concept. During the early adopter phase, there were made a lot of changes in how the credentials are presented, authorizations, and so on. So, and every time there were changes, it had to be replicated in the wallet software that we used. So we had to deal with a lot of problems, but in the end, once it's stable for a university to adapt or to integrate their student information systems, their admission portals, it's not that complex. It's really not that complex. The most complex thing is the organizational thing and convincing all the authorities to join and so on.
The specifications are stable. The EPSI verifiable credentials is stable. We consider it tested and it works. The infrastructure is there. The wallets are there. There are, I think now 17 conformant wallets with EBSI. They passed the test. They are available for anyone to use. So really, what
17 wallets?
Digital wallets.
Digital wallets?
17 conformant wallets. That doesn't mean there's 17 wallets in Europe.
I don't understand.
No, there are 17 wallets, digital wallets, who have actually passed a technical test to establish that they're able to exchange the credentials presented by universities.
Yeah.
So they're able to do it.
For every person, one wallet.
No, it's a piece of software you download from the Android store or the Play Store or the Apple Store. It's like like any wallet that you have, your Pass wallet, your Apple Pay wallet, you have your EPSI conformant wallet. Now, they're private market.
I would have my own wallet. That's my question.
You would have an app on your phone or on your computer that would perform wallet-like function, in which you would see, so very concretely, if you download a wallet in order to be able to present a verifiable credential to an employer to apply for a job.
I'm a freelancer. Yeah. No, I'm kidding.
Who knows? Maybe you got like some kind of special training from an institute. Fine, not you then. You. So
I have my
you
wallet.
would download the wallet.
I can't authenticate anything. My diploma is fake.
So you'd get a very real diploma. You'd request a very real diploma. It would appear along with all of your other very real diplomas and qualifications inside this wallet that would be on your phone. It would be you would have access to the data. It's a piece of software that you run on.
So you test it with 17 wallets, and that are 17 people with a wallet. That's actually what I wanted to know.
17 software companies that have developed a piece of software that anyone can download.
You tried different wallets.
The user has the freedom.
You have
to
the freedom to choose between 17 options at present.
Okay, now I
get
it.
So if you go on the EPSI website, there's a list of all of the wallets who've passed the test.
I can see. Oh, that's a beautiful wallet. I'll take that one.
I like the logo.
I like that one.
I'm going to go for it. It has passed EPSI conformance testing.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Sorry, but this was way
now
too
I get
hard.
it. But now I get it. Yeah.
In order not to be locked in.
For example, at the
To
moment
not be locked in,
there
yes. And there's no vendor lock-in.
there is no vendor lock-in, and at the moment there are some wallet providers who have been in there from the beginning. Now local wallet providers like KBC in Belgium are trying to be EPSI compliant, conformant. Conformant, and they add some extra functionality, and they hope users will choose their wallet.
Ah, I get it. Yeah, okay. So
The
popularity
conformance test tests what? It tests that they can express, they can manage the format of the credential and present it in the correct way.
Great. Yeah, let's go to the audience. If you have questions about wallets or anything else, raise your hand and we will come to you with a microphone. Who has a question on all of this? It's
questions from the audience. We have a question from our
online. Yeah, an online question.
It's a little bit long, so bear with me. What is the biggest added value to developing blockchain in, for example, a single university without there being a European framework to validate digital credentials over many/all higher education institutions?
I can start and you can jump in. So if you want to just start a blockchain node in your garage, you can. You have pick a protocol that you want to follow and you set up a node and you connect to the network that will let you. It is not hard to set up a blockchain node. It might be expensive if you're planning on having a large ledger, a large amount of data, but it's not hard. And I could do it, you could do it. So setting up your own single blockchain node at a university, I don't understand why you would do this. The advantage of a blockchain is that there's many nodes, because then there are many copies of the data and there's no single place where it could fail. What I'm understanding is maybe you want to understand what is the advantage of a private versus a public network or a national versus an international network. So I'll tackle both and then maybe you guys can jump in. So private versus public, that's very much the concept of what Jan was mentioning regarding permissioning. So EBSI does not have the ambition to be the one and only European blockchain network. Our position is to offer a blockchain network where there is permissioning and therefore there's less flexibility in terms of what you're allowed to do with it, but that's a feature, not a bug. The kind of data that is allowed to be written on this blockchain is strictly controlled, and we control it at the source. We authorize certain actors to write or to submit information to be recorded. We do this because we want confidence in the data that's there. So private versus public, you have this notion of permissioning. You have the concept of, well, do I want to rely on a private sector initiative where it's open and I don't really know who owns it or how it's managed, what the policies are behind it? You might have environmental concerns, everything that we've listed before. So that could weigh in for your use. The second is national versus European-wide. The European-wide concept here is very much part of the digital single market ethos. So our idea is to enable verification across borders, which means that someone could participate in an Erasmus program and we could give a reliable registry of universities that are part of it, that are allowed to give you credits for your course. So that is the fundamental difference, is a national network could work for national
implementations. So public and international would work best for what we're talking about here, right? At Una
in
Europa.
our opinion.
Yeah.
In our opinion also. And within a university, it can also be used, for example, in the future to give access to any educational environment, for example, MOOCs, and within the university or e-learning platforms. It can be an alternative. Nowadays it's with user password with the student ID, and the university can issue a verifiable student ID which is in its chosen wallet, and that can be used to give access to anything in the future. For example, also when a foreign student comes to KU Leuven and he wants to apply for a student residence or for a student loan, this technology can also be used. The EPSI model has the possibility to go very much beyond educational credentials. It can be a way of sharing and verifying any kind of information.
Last comment maybe by Rebecca, and
Yes,
then we'll close off.
I can comment that again, the experience we had was first to understand whether the technology really simplifies the administrative efforts, and actually it simplifies enormously the efforts. EBSI, I think we are talking about an environment of public administration. So we have to know that we are within a public administration environment, which is completely different from other type of environments. And in these environments, as the previous panelists have said, the blockchain is a sort of backbone, is a backbone that provides all the verification support. Because in public administration, we need to verify. So the veracity of data is fundamental, is crucial. And so the governance model in that kind of environment needs to be permissioned, not permissionless, because again, we need to verify with certainty, and we need to go back to a specific identity. So the responsibility must be identified. Whereas in a permissionless blockchain, the anonymity is a principle, because you do not want to go back and say you are responsible, you are traced and you are identified as the responsible for an action. In our environment, we cannot accept this, and for this reason organizational problems arise, because these kind of issuers that everybody trusts at the beginning of the process is fundamental, because we are an institution.
Yeah,
but
we need to trust each
I
other.
think that the technology as a final claim is interesting to build the entire ecosystem, as he said, because for a student, the added value is not only to engage in the university life, but to use the same system to live abroad and to rent a house, to be a fully student that is engaged in the society.
Yeah,
in the
we
full
do it all for
society. And
Dominic,
you have the same technological backbone.
who goes to Bologna.
At the only condition that the ecosystem follows. And I think that's the conclusion of
let's make a conclusion.
What is being said. If I can very briefly, the potential gain is enormous for students on and as for staff and administrative staff of time, of weight, of
Privacy. Control.
Yes,
Of everything.
Of privacy, of a lot of things. There still are challenges from the society point of view, from the organizational point of view, the ecosystem point of view, and that these are the key things that we should be working on in the next year to get all the society to follow.
Yeah, join them and give them a warm hand. The panelists. Thank you for being here. Thank you for asking a question. Thank you for watching.